What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, we are here in Greece. I've done like 2 videos in Greece, and we're in a city in Greece called Thessaloniki, something like that. This is the city right here. I do have a video that I'm gonna be watching, but this is Thessaloniki in Greece. 15 hours from Dallas. You know, that's pretty long, not bad flight. City renowned for festivals, events, vibrant cultures. So it looks like it got a lot to offer here in Greece. Greece is definitely beautiful. And like I said, we exploring it from this channel, Forest Jungle Collectives. They didn't say much about it, but we finna check it out anyway. So y'all hit that subscribe button. Send down those recommendations. And maybe I can check out a little bit more. You know, it's 16 minutes. Might not do the whole 16. Just gonna like skim through it and stuff. That's what I'm gonna do. Turn that down. Let's see. Oh, they talk on it.
Off a Monty Python box set.
What in the
I'm
world?
not claiming to be an expert on Greece. However, at this point we had been here, and here.
Oh.
And here and here and here. So believe
Dang.
me when I say that we have
They've
seen
been everywhere.
a fair cross-section of Greece. Low-angle flag shot. Oh, it's blown all the way around.
Flag
Well,
shot.
never mind. I assume that's not considered a grave insult. However, to get a glimpse at a rather different part of the country, we had planned a sneaky trip to Thessaloniki, or a Thessaloniki, if you will.
Thessaloniki.
So we landed in Thessaloniki with some stunning views of Mount Olympus on the way in. And
Mount
as is
Olympus.
now practically a sacred ceremony, a first Fredo espresso out front of the airport before jumping on a bus. Bus into the centre is pretty straightforward and only about 180. Thessa looking pretty
Not
great as
bad.
we stepped off. There are so many buses in Thessaloniki. They are
my goodness.
just everywhere. So, big
Oh.
Roman arch. The Roman emperor who built this must have had a great
Wow.
sense of humour. He was Galerius.
Arch of
None of you
Galerius.
have better Roman emperor puns than that. I guarantee it. Well,
Are they? What a? On the face? It look like they're turned around. Or am I
quick coffee
tripping?
island with the Arch
Maybe
of
not.
Galerius in the background. We took strides around the town, taking in various significant churches
Look
and
at
other
that.
historic sites. I had eaten espresso, beer, and nothing else so far this day, so I was about ready to take off from the ground if I just flapped my arms fast enough. The first day we were staying at the Pella Hotel. Not that it
Pella.
matters, it was fine. Heading back out to explore more, Thessaloniki is a pretty incredible place. It's hard to summarize the exact ingredients that make it up. It is, of course, very busy everywhere. Unlike most Greek
Dang,
places
that's a
in
lot of
Britain who
people.
are used to a large volume of tourists, it's refreshing how
Dang.
Thessaloniki seems to mainly exist for its own sake. So there aren't places hugely pandering to a foreign audience. Basically, all the stores are catering to the locals. In the early 20th century, the city was commonly known, in the English-speaking countries at least, as Salonika. And there are traces of
Salonika.
old Salonika everywhere, in flourishes of Baroque
Look at
and
that.
turn-of-the-century grandeur, but still sharing the skyline with the ubiquitous apartment blocks. Much like Athens and other large Greek cities, there are
Athens,
explosions
Greece.
of graph tags everywhere, with a lot of the graffiti showing quite remarkable artistry and flair. And people were not
Good artistry.
exaggerating. The pigeons really are a thing.
My goodness. Wouldn't even be able to walk around nowhere with them things.
And they
right?
like to fly full speed at head height. Just watching this
Oh,
footage
snap.
back is actually making me itch. I'm also
They,
surprised
like,
they've
right
survived,
there on-
since the city also has just the most stray cats. Every time we visit a new European
most stray
city, I
cats.
feel like it tops the record for strays, but in this case, I feel like it may actually be true. So many cats. And the
So
occasional
many.
dog, but the dogs were more on the comically overweight side. Now, it's not all modernity, as one of the biggest pulls
Like,
of
at least the
is its
people are
rich
not.
history of Roman ruins, ancient churches, Ottoman bathhouses, and all
Wow.
sorts. I'm not going to devote too much time to them in this video specifically, but a few highlights. One of the first places we went in, just beyond the Arch of Galerius, is the Rotunda, a really
Rotunda.
unique round church built in 306 with a
Look at
stunning
that.
arched ceiling which still retains some of its later mosaics from when it became a church. It then retains this minaret from the Ottoman period of the city where it was turned into a
Dang.
mosque. And considering this building is surviving pretty much intact at size, 1,700 years later, it's a near miracle. And it's similar in
That is a long. That's a long time.
significance to the
Oh my
Hagia Sophia in
goodness.
Istanbul and the Pantheon in Rome. And yeah,
That
the
is
city
long.
is full of buildings from almost every era from the last 2,000 years. Although all the
they've been
baths and
making it.
churches, mosques and marketplaces can never really escape
Look at that one. It's kind of tilted.
from their urban surroundings. Little islands of history amongst a sea of glass and air conditioning units. But they really bring the city to life. I'm normally all about that Byzantine life, but it was
The
a lot of the
Byzantine
Ottoman
life?
stuff that was actually quite special to see. After running myself ragged up and down the hill trying to catch as many of the mosques, baths and churches as I could, low angle flag, oh damn it, that one's back to front again. Okay, enjoyed a very slow walk by the
Ooh.
waterfront with a gyros down towards the White
Nice.
Tower, and if you've not picked
White
up,
Tower.
very busy. The White Tower is not the
Look
most
at all those
impressive sight
people.
in the city, but it does work well as the city's icon, and this part of the waterfront is one of the busiest thoroughfares with
Dang.
buskers doing things.
They're doing things.
We caught the sunset from just opposite the Alexander the Great statue.
Alexander the
Great
Great.
first day by all accounts. Made an early start the
It's a
next morning
beautiful
to a
sunset.
much less sunny, though still beautiful dawn. You could just see the pink of the first
the
sun
waters.
rays kissing the top of Olympus in the distance. Quick visit to the island for a double
My
espresso
guy
to start
drank
the
like
day.
3-4
Wandered
coffees
through the
over.
streets, this time heading further upwards, and you don't really appreciate when you're down in the centre just how much higher the city climbs. After a few glimpses, was
Dang.
greeted with this amazing view just below the Trigonian Tower. And this is one of the best things about Greece in April, when the high mountains have still kept their snow and they make for a stunning framing in the distance. Container ships in the bay
Wallpaper
still milling
worthy.
around awkwardly like adolescents on the dance floor when a slow dance song comes on. Up near the top of the town, the pictures of the road become pretty absurd, not least because everyone seems to drive these like tiny Fiats and Daewoo's. I mean, I'm not sure
Fiats.
how they managed to get enough revs to even get up there in the first place. Well,
Is that
stopped
even
at
a
Mickle for
road?
double
Look at
espresso.
that road. They got
At
some
least because
interesting
everyone seems
roads
to
there.
drive these like tiny Fiats and Daewoo's. I mean, I'm not sure how they managed to get enough revs to even get up there in the first place. Well, stopped in on Mickle for a double espresso to start the
Mickle.
day. Then shortly after, a quick Freddo espresso and croissant to start the day. We had
Dang, that
planned to
looked
take
good.
it easy, and we were due rain, even though there was no sign of it when we stepped out the door. Well, wandered around a few more of the historic parts of the town. Quick mid-morning Freddo espresso to start
Oh my
the day.
goodness.
Dropped in on the Archaeological Museum of Thessaloniki,
Archaeological
which
Museum.
was okay, quite small for €8, and rather than a welcome
Quite small.
Macedonian stuff, the main star of the show was a guest
Macedonia?
exhibit on Sardinia, which, okay, sure. We'd been hoofing bags around for a while, so after lunch, a lunch that I was too hungry to film, quick after lunch Freddo espresso to start the day, dropped into our
Another
Airbnb.
espresso.
There's a story about why we were staying in a hotel the first night. Our flight got cancelled and pulled back to the Saturday, so
Oh,
we had an
dang.
extra day. There's the story. You're all caught up. So, back out late afternoon for an Irish coffee to start the day. This was at Detox Cafe, though I'm not
Detox,
sure what they're
the
supposed to be detoxing from, considering it's full of coffee, donuts, and booze.
That donut look delicious. My guy loves coffee. It looked like Greece has a lot of coffee. Good coffee at that. A lot of different coffee shops that I've never seen. Thessaloniki.
Dinner at this little pizza place, which has a
Oh.
surprising number of awards, but yeah, it was pretty good. Up early in the morning for something that should probably be its own episode. We had been going back and forth with adding this to other trips. It's one of the most popular
Coffee
excursion
Island.
days in Greece, though wherever you're coming into the country, there's not really a convenient place to start out from. It's almost bang in the middle, away from all the tourist airports around the edge. It's Meteora, named in the 12th
Meteora.
century after the Linkin Park album. I'll be a bit brief on the
Linkin
site,
Park.
but it's a strong recommend, even with the 3+ hours coach
The
ride.
hassle's on there.
That's still shorter than the same trip beginning from Athens. So we drove out of Thessa, around the bay and past Mount Olympus, past Larissa, and while the last bit seemed to take forever, we eventually glimpsed the incredible pillars in the distance.
Incredible
The
pillars.
coach began to climb, and then we were at the overlook. And I mean, this was just all my Christmases come at once. As well as the astonishing geography of the place, some monks from around the 800s started living in caves around the pillars, and eventually
Look at those
monasteries were
rocks.
built, hanging precariously atop the
That's how. How did they build
Rocks.
this stuff on this?
The itinerary hadn't made it clear if we'd get this proper wide shot of the whole place, so it was just amazing
Look
to see.
at that.
We then drove to
How do you get home?
this monastery, not the largest, but good to see. Then down a little ways to
It looked
this
nice
one.
though.
Past this guy on the way up, Couldn't
Not a
film
doggy.
inside here, hardly at all anyway. But to be honest, the insides are not really the highlight. It's more the wide views that make it. Came down to find the floof had relocated to the middle of the road, so we shall name him Deathwish. And he really was not moving for anyone. Cars and coaches alike were having to steer around him. Well, we got dropped here.
It's a hard life. It's a hard knock life for Deathwish. You know, life hard.
For lunch. I'm
Even
sure
for a
there's
dog.
a prearranged deal between the tour company and the restaurant.
Look at
but
that.
A
What
bit of a
in the
stitch
world?
up for everyone concerned.
Look at the holes in these things. It's like Swiss cheese.
The restaurant all of a sudden has to juggle around 40 new people, all wanting to be served, and out again in just under an hour. And while they're making some pretty fancy food, you know, dude coming out with that kitchen blowtorch, this was an expensive spot. I was mainly content with a mythos and this unusual espresso vanity shot. Gotta hand it to them for the views at the very least.
Nice view. Expensive view.
3 hours back with a stop which, dragged a bit, but comparatively small price to pay for what essentially stole the show of our entire Thessaloniki
Look at that.
trip.
That's crazy.
One day I will show a lot more of the footage we caught, but just not right now. Otherwise, this episode will be creeping towards the hour mark. By the way, so the excursion
like
was
it's a
about
lot to
50 each with
Seems like it's a lot to see out here for
towards
sure.
the hour mark. By the way, so the excursion was about 50 each
Meteora.
with Ammon tours. Looked into other options, and while it is actually possible to do it by train, it is very close to the same price, except you'll have to make your own way up on the roads, which is about an hour on foot or however much for a cab. There's
It's a
also
long
bus
route,
options,
long route.
but weirdly only leaving at midday, so timing that's not really used to anyone without an overnight stop. So yeah, look, I suggest excursion, a bit pricey, probably worth it. So we were eating dinner when we landed back, and here's a silly problem to have. I mean, in some ways it's actually quite a good sign. In a lot of Greek places, every third shop front is a restaurant. You just glance past what you feel like, and you barely even have to think about it.
Like,
in
I want to eat here.
most of the places you pass are either bars, which are invariably packed to the doors after
Dang.
work, or actual
I think Greece been the only country I've seen in Europe that's like super packed.
shops. You know those things we used to
many
have in
people
England
live here?
before we raised the ground rent of our high streets so high we were only left with a few homogenous
Dang.
outlets that appear in every clone-stamped town centre and nothing else? But yeah, all this means you can walk in a straight line for 10 minutes and scarcely see a single restaurant. The street that connects the rotunda with the White Tower has a lot of takeaways, but it's also a massive wind tunnel, so it's not the superest to be eating outside if there's a stiff breeze. We ended up in a small burger
Funky
place, which was
burger.
pretty alright. Okay, following day. I
They
am
look
not
like they
really
give you a
keeping
lot of
apprised
fries.
with all the early scamperings around I was doing.
Look at that.
But with no exceptions, all 5 mornings I was out of the house around 6:30 to film, usually for about 2 to 3 hours or so
That's
until the
good,
rest of the
that's
day's
good.
activities took over. On this day, we had a hire car to pick up, and after some mildly fraught town driving, courtesy the quiet
What was
country
that,
lanes
man?
of downtown Thessaloniki, we were out
Dang,
on the road
Mike.
heading east.
My goodness. This is a packed city.
Country lanes of downtown Thessaloniki.
Thessaloniki.
We were out on the road heading east. The goal was Phillipi, though we made a bunch of other stops along the route there and back. There are a lot of toll roads in this part of the country. Thing is,
Oh my goodness.
they were pretty great. Barely any traffic, mostly very smooth, and
It looked like a great scenery, great views too.
only about 90 cents for the most part.
That's not bad.
It was weird. I was
great
like,
views.
I feel very in favour of toll roads all of a sudden. And it was a glorious day, so it just felt great to be out and exploring. Phillipi was pretty
Ancient
brilliant. We
Phillipi.
arrived around midday and there are approximately 1 zillion squawking schoolchildren, but
my gosh.
lucky for us, after about 10 minutes they all filed out, leaving only us and one other couple on the entire site. The theatre's pretty spectacular. A lot of the site was a building site, but we got a pretty good look at it from our vantage point. On our way back, a rather specific destination hunt led us out into more
Where
of the
is that?
Macedonian countryside. I have to say, it was a massive
So they was close to Macedonia.
wind going in spring. The weather was beautiful,
Beautiful
but without it
flowers.
ever getting oppressively hot. Chilly in the evenings and mornings. I'm not sure you'd have a great time swimming either, but that's not really what we were there for. Back into Thessa, a few more things to see. Was also craving a coffee, but didn't want to just do Island or Mickle. Incidentally, a couple of years back when in Lefkada, I wondered aloud on the episode if Mickle was a local spot. Having now seen them on every corner in Thessaloniki, can confirm not. So yeah, got that one wrong. Decided to opt.
Nichols Coffee. It's a coffee cup. Maybe it's knowledge entering life.
Thessaloniki can confirm not. So yeah, got that one wrong.
Coffee cup.
Wrong. Decided to opt for the wild card with Alfredo from this place, along with what turned out to be a cinnamon peanut butter situation. And
cinnamon peanut butter?
It was also basically a meal,
combo.
which is good because we were perilously tight for cash on this trip, which was why I was content to skip a meal or few. We went out for drinks in the evening. Not exactly a spectacular night out, but we've been finding ourselves crashing out pretty hard the previous day, so it was nice to be seeing more of the city at night. Day 5, early rise, Island. It probably hasn't escaped your notice that on our trips, it often evolves down to hitting a pretty strenuous to-do list of historic sites. And this morning, I was finally trying to hit the circuit of Byzantine walls I hadn't properly seen yet. And oh boy, had I underestimated the distance involved. It took me close to 2 hours just to start from the northwest quadrant and simply connect up to the Trigonian Tower where I'd made it to previously. And then we had to get on the road again, this time heading west. Now, despite the tolls, these roads were actually pretty nasty, and you started to wonder if the next stop contained the stone that would shatter your windshield and boof your deposit. So this day was going to be more of an ancient Macedonian day. That's Alexander the Great stuff, for those who don't know. We had mixed results. We saw the tombs of Philip II and Alexander IV, that's Alexander the Great's son, inside this huge tumulus museum thing. Also went to Pella, which is Alexander the Great's birthplace, though it was closed due to strikes.
Closed? Oh, dang.
Anyway, we headed back to Thessa early to catch this, the castle at the very top of the city, which, while the castle is fine, the views were unbelievable, even after everything we'd seen so far. We spent some loose time just walking through Thessa, which was nice, and finally got to hit one of the most highly recommended coffee spots in the city. This is Blue Cup. It's in a bit of an inauspicious spot next to the main road and underneath the gaze of a big tower block. But they clearly know what they're doing with coffee. I got a house blend, both as an espresso and Freddo espresso to compare. It was good. It didn't change my life per se, but I'm very happy to drink it.
It was still good.
It was sad that our time was almost up. We headed up the hill to catch the sunset, but high as it is, the Trigonian Tower wasn't actually quite high enough to see the sun itself set, which was being blocked rather unhelpfully by this house. So we ended up getting a drink here, which had this great second floor bar and stunning views over the city. Definitely appreciated this on our final night. We also had a light dinner at this place just down the road from our Airbnb, but it was quite low-key, some traditional stuff. And that was pretty much it. We were at the airport the next morning after I did just a little last bit of the walls that I hadn't been able to catch the previous day. I know there's been quite a lot of skimming this episode. We're in a phase where a big part of the trips are banking footage for the historic episodes we're working towards. So when the Byzantine episodes finally come around, then boy, will there be a lot to show you. In the meantime, we have a bunch of episodes from before this from around Greece. The last 3 were workshopping what the best history road trip of the mainland and Athens looks like. Before that was a 4-parter exploring Crete. Before that, well, check the playlist. Otherwise, the music you've been hearing is ours. You can find it all on bandcamp.com, and if you want to support the channel, that's the place to do it. Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram, and the next episode, I'm actually really looking forward to doing this, even though I'm likely to catch some Greek for it. So check back very soon and catch you then.
I gotta check out some more from them and from Greece. This was nice. Now I need to see what's the population here. It look pretty crowded. Population, we shouldn't have no. Oh my God. This thing say 814,000. My goodness. I didn't even know it's the second largest city. I'm guessing Athens is first. Maybe. That's a big jump. It looked like it said it had about 300,000 before. That's a big jump. This is a nice place, but it do look crowded. You know, has some nice sceneries. Has some very very historic, old like super old buildings. Like what he said, one been there thousands of years. So, but all in all, nice. Can't wait to learn a little bit more about Greece. I don't even think I might not have did Athens, Greece. Uh, so I might need to do a walkthrough video. Check out Athens. You know that's mainly the main place you hear when it comes to Greece is Athens. So wanted to check out some other cities. So if y'all have some more cities for me to check out, hit that subscribe button. Send out more recommendations. And y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.